We have to find a way to talk and have dialogue and be tolerant between other views.
You have to have open dialogue, and that's where free speech is so important.
Consent's a very important thing, and today in the Me Too movement, it's been very important because I think it's really opened up a lot of eyes.
Cannabis is a healing herb. We as the people, we need to stand up and make a move.
If you committed sexual assault, it doesn't matter when it was, you should be held accountable for that. However, we have to make sure that we actually make sure they committed sexual assault, and we have to make sure that all allegations are verified.
They'll put in these programs thinking that it'll help everyone, but what they forget is that the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I think that's what this whole movement is all about anyways, is trying to be open to ideas.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Liberty Talks Podcast. This is Matt Travis, and beside me, as always, is John Douglas. Today, we have just a couple different topics we're going to go over. We're going to talk about Jussie Smollette today, and as well as we're going to discuss what happened on the UC Berkeley campus, where a conservative student was attacked. I believe he was there trying to get people to join TPUSA, right?
Yeah, he was there for TPUSA. They were doing an actual activism, a tabling event about Jussie Smollette. So, interestingly enough.
yeah. Well, we'll get into that one later. First, for our first topic with Jussie Smollette, we wanted to start off reading this legal team letter that was put out. I think it was CBS Chicago. See, these are the same organization that broke the story initially. Whenever we started to realize that we had evidence that it was a hoax. And we talked about this on the last podcast. We spoke about the fact that CBS Chicago and I think ABC Chicago had both come out and said that they had informants on the inside with the Chicago Police Department that were telling them that it was essentially a hoax. And then, of course, we ended our talk on this subject during last podcast saying that it wasn't 100% confirmed because the police had come out and said that they were that these articles were uninformed, I believe was the word that they used. Yeah. But of course,
and then it turned out the very next day after we uploaded the podcast, it came out that it was true.
Yeah, exactly. So now we know for sure it was a hoax. And that's, oh crap, what did I do? I lost my thing, but we can just go back. So now we know it's for sure a hoax. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to start this podcast, since probably pretty much everybody's up to date on what's going on with this case. We're going to start this podcast by reading a letter from Jussie Smollette's legal team. They said, this is an official legal letter from his legal team. So this is his lawyers writing this, which is hilarious. Because
it's brilliant too. This is top tier lawyering.
Yeah. All right. So it says, it's really short, so we're just going to read it on air. It says, today we witnessed an organized law enforcement spectacle that has no place in the American legal system. The presumption of innocence, a bedrock in the search for justice, was trampled upon at the expense of Mr. Smollett, and notably on the eve of a mayoral election. So right there, it seems what they're saying is they think that the Chicago police are conspiring against Jussie Smollette, and they're doing so because there's a mayor's election coming up.
Well, whenever you commit a crime and the police arrest you for it, I guess you can say they conspired against you, but it's kind of your fault.
Yeah. It's an amazing statement. What I found interesting about that second sentence too, the presumption of innocence, a bedrock in the search for justice, was trampled upon. And I'm trying to figure out on what basis are they saying it was trampled upon? Because if it was trampled upon, if he didn't get any due process, then wouldn't he be in jail right now without having gone through to court or anything?
Exactly. What's amazing, every single person believed the story right away, at least everyone on the left. And they said, if you don't believe a story, it's because you're a racist. They had no skepticism to a story. And now when it turns out the entire thing's a hoax, and it was obvious from the start it was a hoax, but now that we pretty much have all the evidence it was a hoax and we all know, now he's not getting due process. Now he's not being given the presumption of innocence, which isn't even true because, yeah, like you said, if that was the case, he would be in jail right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the letter goes on. It says, where were we? So he said, on the level of mayoral election. Oh yeah, and then it goes on to say, Mr. Smollett is a young man of impeccable character and integrity, who fiercely and solemnly maintains his innocence and feels betrayed by a system that apparently wants to skip due process. Again, skip due process. What due process have we skipped? He was arrested. He was charged with a crime. He got out on bail. What other due process is there to get there? And proceed directly to sentencing. It did not proceed directly to sentencing.
Exactly. His lawyers are not very good at lawyering, but I just want to say one thing. When I think of a person that with fine, impeccable character, just a symbol of all that is good with people and just someone who we should admire, I think of someone like Jussie Smollett, who was going to falsely testify against presumably two white innocent men who did not commit this crime just so he can make a few extra dollars because he's not already making enough money. So that's what I think of, and I think of someone with impeccable character.
Yeah, and doesn't that the fact that he's probably got plenty of money, doesn't that make the irony of like the worst lawyering on the entire planet?
Here's how much money.
Much better.
Here's how much money he has. He paid $100,000 on bail. That's how much money he makes in 1.5 episodes of Empire.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So that's like paying a parking ticket for him.
That's hilarious. Oh man.
But it really is upsetting that he got out on bail already. He should be going to prison for this. What the rumors are that a lot of the Chicago police are very angry about how he's being treated because they say he's still being treated with kid gloves. They're saying they're going to make this as easy as possible for him. They understand how he must feel right now, and that's BS. This guy did commit a crime. He wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he wasted hundreds, thousands of man hours. He should go to jail for that. He did one of the worst racial hoaxes in probably American history at this point. Went viral than any other type of racial hoax ever was. And he really could almost started a race war by it. He should go to jail.
Yeah.
But the fact he's being treated by kid gloves really does show that we do have a broken justice system. Because if you're a celebrity, or if you're well connected, or if you're on the left, then that means basically your chances of being prosecuted are basically cut in half.
Yeah, exactly. And
I just want to ask you, if he wasn't a celebrity and committed this racial hoax, do you think he'd be getting treated with kid gloves?
Oh, absolutely not. Well, it's not even just. Well, yeah, the main thing is he's a celebrity, but it's also because he wasn't a white MAGA supporter. Like, had this actually been a real crime committed by actual white dudes that were really Trump supporters, they would be bringing down the hammer.
Of course.
Whether they were celebrities or not.
Now, it's amazing to see that there are still some Democrats and leftists who are still trying to defend Jussie Smollett in some way, like CNN anchor and host Don Lemon. Yeah. Pretty much a show that is a repository of all stupidity. Honestly, Don Lemon is the worst anchor on CNN by far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. CNN, yes. I was thinking Al Sharpton, but that's MSNBC. Never mind.
Right. Yeah, no, Don Lemon is the most biased person on CNN. He doesn't even try to hide it, yet somehow he's still an objective reporter. But he actually, on CNN, said that it's not Jussie Smollett's fault that he lost in the court of public opinion.
That's
what?
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He staged a hoax hate crime, had 2 black guys commit the crime, even though he said the guys were white. Paid them by check $3,500 so that it could be tracked. That the 2 guys that he had do it were stupid enough to keep their receipts at their house, to keep the magazine that they cut letters out of to send. It's just public opinion that
wrote his name on the check.
Yeah,
but it's not his fault. He lost in the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So So honestly, this Jussie Smollett story is turning into a crap show to replace that with a nastier word. It's turning into a major crap show. And really, the reason it's turning into this is because he's still being treated by kid gloves because people either A, don't want to put him behind bars as a celebrity, or B, they're scared they might get identified as a racist or as a homophobe. I mean, you already see the lawyers are basically saying this, that the police are committing some vast conspiracy against them because, as we know, all police officers are evil and want to put all black people behind bars.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing how these things unfold. How it goes from you're racist if you doubt that it's true, to the police are racist for basically investigating a crime that was only brought to light because of the guy who I'm supposedly racist for not believing.
Yeah. and then
all preventable.
And then to make it even worse, if it turns out to be false, then you're also a racist for not jumping on it right away and saying how this is an example of how awful the United States is and how racist the country is, because then you're not acknowledging the narrative.
Yeah, I even saw a CNN reporter. She used to be a libertarian. I don't even know if she considers herself libertarian anymore.
I mean, I think all CNN reporters used to be something until until Donald Trump was elected.
That's true. That's true. But man, I can't remember. Oh, S.E. Cupp. She was criticizing conservatives. This was about a week ago. This is like right after our podcast, I think. She was criticizing conservatives as being giddy over the entire event. That it was coming out proven that he was wrong. Or not that he was wrong, that he was lying would be a better way to say that. And she was criticizing conservatives for being giddy and trying to take like this virtue signaling stance of this harms black communities because yada 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 yada.
Yeah, Republicans pounce.
Yeah, it's like even whenever you're full on right, it's like you could be 100% right about everything, and nope, you still don't have a heart. You're still not compassionate.
You're still an evil right-wing MAGA Nazi.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The other thing that's amazing is seeing the hard left's response to this. I don't remember if it was in Huffington Post or if it was more mainstream like Washington Post or New York Times, but there was this really radical writer who wrote that she was upset that the hoax was fake because it did not fit in her narrative that the United States is a very awful racist place. And I really want to analyze that because I don't have the article here with me right now, but she's upset that this man, Jussie Smollett, actually was not actually in a real racial hate crime. She wishes that he was in one because now she can't say that the United States is an awful, terrible place. I mean, what does that say about your character if you're upset that a crime did not happen, because then you can't paint your country as as a garbage country, one of the worst countries on earth.
Yeah, it's amazing. You should. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what side you're on. It doesn't matter if you believed him or didn't believe him. No matter what, you should hope that it didn't actually happen. I mean, I guess there's the opposite side of that is to where either it happened, so we have a couple of racist MAGA guys, right, and that's somehow representative of a larger narrative, or it didn't happen and you have people faking hoax hate crimes. So it's really bad either way. But I'd have to think that having a bunch of rampant racists running around is probably far worse than some idiot that doesn't know how to get away with a crime. And I could get away with this hoax crime, I'm telling you right now. but having an idiot they don't know how to get away with a crime is probably far less of a moral problem for society than having a bunch of rampant racists running around.
I agree, and I think what this racial hoax actually points out is the United States is a great country, because if the only time this ever happens and it's a hoax, and then we still jump on it right away because we're so sensitive about racial crimes, it shows the United States actually is a pretty good country because it doesn't happen that much, and when it does, we're on top of it. But that's not how people want to see it.
Yep. Exactly. I was looking for a tweet. Somebody had here it goes. One of my friends tweeted out a quote from Neil Reed. I don't know who Neil Reed is, to be honest, but one of my friends tweeted out a quote from him and said, I wish I had this kind of wit. It said, "This is what happens when the demand for racism exceeds the supply." And that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
I was about to say that because Matt Walsh tweeted that out too.
Oh, yeah? I wonder if it's a quote from the same guy, or maybe Matt Walsh originally said it and then Neil Reed said it. So it's like one of those Michael Scott things on The Office, where he's like
Probably.
the quote of Wayne Gretzky, and it says Wayne Gretzky and then Michael Scott underneath it. Never know.
Yeah. Maybe that's what happened, but that's a very true statement. That's a very true statement. The supply of racism has exceeded the demand for racism has exceeded the supply, and that's true because there isn't that much racism in the United States because the United States is a great country. But since the left follows the theory of intersectionality, and that we could attribute all bad things to racial and oppressive hierarchies, then that means that you need a constant supply of racism in order to maintain that. Since there is none, they have to latch onto it whenever they can find it. And the truth is they can't find it because it doesn't exist. That's why they latch onto these racial hoaxes so easily. And it's why they're not going to learn from their lesson. This will happen again probably tomorrow.
Yep. It happens constantly, over and over and over and over and over.
Because guess what? It already is happening tomorrow because there's already a news story, which maybe it could be true.
There is. What's this one?
Now it's in California, somewhere in California. Apparently, a racist white MAGA guy vandalized someone's property that because they had anti-Trump signs and put letters in their mailbox, basically saying you better take down your anti-Trump signs, #MAGA. So this is a stupid thing like that.
So maybe this happened, maybe it didn't. You do have to wonder though. Why is it that we never see a case, or I don't want to say never, maybe it's happened before, but why is it that at the very least, the vast majority of time we have some high profile case, a lot of the cases with leftists doing crazy things don't end up high profile because the media has no interest in spreading those. But it's how high profile as you can get of a leftist doing something negative, like tearing down somebody's signs. Like there was a video of a guy on campus, a while back, knocking down pro-life signs and stuff like that.
Right.
Why is it that whenever we hear something of a leftist doing it, it never comes out that it ends up being a hoax?
Because we have two mindsets. So whenever there's so Jussie Smollett committed this racial hoax because he knew that he would gain more validity and more respect among the leftist community if he was somehow targeted, because that means that now his opinions are worth more because he's ranked on the higher intersectional scale. Whereas people on the right, that doesn't matter to them because they don't believe that they're becoming more validated just because someone who disagrees with them targets them. And because that's not true. You don't become more validated just because someone targets you, especially when it's a hoax. And fundamental difference between the right and the left, which is why you always see these racial hoaxes on the left, but you never really see them happen on the right because the right does not engage in identity politics nearly to the extent that the left does, and therefore we don't get prestige from showing how oppressed we are from the left because it's stupid and we all know it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think that's a good spot to transition to our other story because that's the case. What you just said is the case with the Covington boys thing, even with some ones in the past, like the Mattress Girl and the UVA case and Brett Kavanaugh even. It's people perpetuating a narrative because they want to be seen as a victim because they know that there's what's the word for it? There's a place to profit in that from the free market of ideas, essentially.
Yeah, of course. Their opinions become more valid. Their entire existence becomes more valid, and not just more valid, it becomes more valid than everyone else around them. And now they have authority over those people. Right,
exactly. And I think I don't think we're gonna get any better of a summary than that. So I think that's a good place to jump into our next topic.
Yes, the UC Berkeley, another repository for all things stupid. Except, it's amazing. Now, I could be wrong on this. I'm pretty sure the most cases that come out of conservatives being targeted usually come from UC Berkeley.
Yeah. It's interesting like that.
Everyone knows UC Berkeley because how anti-conservative they are.
Yep, exactly. So I've got the video. Sorry, I was kind of distracted there for a second. But yeah, you're exactly right. But I have the video here of the UC Berkeley incident. So we'll go ahead and play that, and then we can kind of comment on it from there. I put my camera in a new place. And
by the way, for everyone listening, this is midterms week, so everyone's a little stressed out.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, let me know if you can see that.
Yeah, I see that.
See the video? It's a weird shot because you got a picture of somebody's crotch there, basically. but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and play this, and we'll just comment it on the way. This
Pretty
is
sure that was a
in
microaggression.
Berkeley, and it's kind of easy to tell he's being attacked. But there's a guy in a gray sweater and a guy in a black sweater that are both seem to be left leaning at the very least, because they're attacking a conservative guy on campus that is trying to recruit people, I guess would be the right word, to TPUSA.
He's an LI field representative, and he was doing some work with TPUSA at UC Berkeley, and their table was actually about Jussie Smollette, how fake racial hoaxes delegitimize people who actually were part of hate crimes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go over some of the stuff that was there before we even jump to the video. There was 2 signs that I think are important to mention. Number one was talking about the Jussie Smollette case in some way, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then there was one that was that said this is MAGA country, which is kind of trolling, but I think it's trolling in a good taste considering the circumstances.
Right.
But anyway, so with that in mind, we're going to play this video. So this is why these people got so upset.
Yeah,
right,
can you
I'm gonna
explain
video
what
this.
you're fucking doing?
I'm gonna video this.
You're not videoing me.
All right, well, we're in public, so I'm just gonna video it for my own safety because you seem really erratic.
You are fucking encouraging violence.
So the conservative saying, the guy's like trying to tell him to get the camera out of his face or something. He's saying, no, I'm going to video it for my safety because you're acting violent. And the guy points at his stuff and starts telling him how he doesn't like his materials.
I think he flips it over.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I don't give you permission to fucking videotape me. You're a fucking problem.
And he knocks his phone out of his hand there. I think it was this guy who knocked his phone out of his hand.
My face, motherfucker. Put your phone on my fucking face. You want to hit me? I'll shoot your ass.
All right, so right there, so he starts hitting him and pushing him around, and I think they're tugging over. There's another video where they're tugging over like a sweater or something at one point. But right there, he actually says, I don't know if you heard this whenever you watched in the video before, but he actually says, I'm going to shoot you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I remember
that. Really interesting coming from somebody mad at TPUSA and mad at MAGA country.
He must be pro Second Amendment.
I know, right? All of a sudden, become pro Second Amendment.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of my way.
Okay, so here goes the other video. He's just saying, put your hands on me again, motherfucker. And he didn't put his hands on him, but he still punched him.
And then as he walked off, he said, this is Kamala country.
Yeah. Oh, God.
No, but luckily, just can we just do a shout out to that LI field rep for recording the entire time in landscape mode.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh gosh, I can't stand it whenever people mess that up.
I tell my activists this all the time. I say record in landscape mode. They make fun of me for it, but I mean that guy deserves a high five for that, and he also probably deserves to see this guy. This guy, he's going to jail. I mean, they caught his face perfectly on camera.
So what do you think about? I know the guy who shared it, I think was the original guy who shared it on Twitter. He was saying that that he liked how the guy who was getting punched responded because it left. He was saying that it was the right way to respond, and it seemed like he was making some moral statement there, which I don't necessarily agree with fully. But what do you think about that? I kind of looked at it and I said, it's a strategic way to respond for sure, because you're just standing there calm. Because if you fight back, then nobody's probably going to get in trouble in the end because the cops are going to look at it and go, look, I mean, we don't know what the fuck happened 5 seconds before that. So we just have to assume y'all got mad at each other and got in a fight.
Yeah, I mean, since it was being recorded, even if he would have started hitting back, I think that guy still would have gone to jail. But yeah, I mean, standing there and taking the punches, he's probably been trained to do it. But man, I could not do that. If someone punched me, I would be on them like one of my friends the other day was saying, you're not really an angry person, are you? Like, yeah, have you ever been in fights? Like, you should have saw me in high school. If someone punches me, I turn into a whole different person. I would have been trying to beat that guy down to like an inch of his life at that point. Like, just that's how I react when someone punches me. So being able to stand there and actually record the entire thing and take it That guy deserves some props for that. That's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I give him props for that to some extent, but I think it would have been perfectly justified in beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, me too. And I think his friends would have been justified in dogpiling on him too, and all just doing whatever they can to beat that guy. I mean, he was a big guy too. That guy had some muscles.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting, and I think for that guy's sake, it would have been better if he got the crap beat out of him, because he may have never gotten crap beat out of him before.
That's true, but
because you don't just punch random people.
Yeah, you know, I would like to see him get punched back, and I would like to see him get knocked out. But sadly, we didn't. But luckily, there will be justice. He is going to go to jail, and he can think about how much he hates the right wing while sitting behind some bars and describing to his fellow inmates why he's in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And this, just like the hate hoax crime, this is not the first time we've seen an incident like this either. This is
definitely not
happening. Not too long ago, there was that probably not as aggressive as this guy, but there was that guy at the pro-life event in, I think it was in Toronto, that roundhouse kicked that chick. It was like the most animated roundhouse kick. It was kind of funny just because it was not her getting hit, but it was the most animated roundhouse kick ever. And then, well, I mean, not too long ago, a couple years ago, whenever Trump was running for office in Berkeley, he had constant riots. He even had professors hitting people with bike locks.
Yeah, I remember that. Here's the thing about the tolerant left. They think that they're actually fighting Nazis. Therefore, to them, they're not actually doing anything bad by fighting you. I actually have a friend who's a communist. I don't know what she is now, and I'm not going to give any names. She doesn't even live in the United States. She's lives in Spain, but she was actually a member of Antifa at one point. I don't know if she still is now. I haven't asked her about that lately. But I one time I was talking to her about it, and I asked her, I said, why do you think it's okay to attack these people? And she says, because they're Nazis, they deserve to be attacked. At which point I said, well, don't you understand? If you're going to attack them because you perceive them to be Nazis, that actually makes you the Nazi.
Yeah.
You're no better than them.
Yeah, exactly. You're the brown shirt.
Yeah, exactly. She just could not get that through her head. Like, that's just something she could not understand.
And that's the danger of even things like the Jussie Smollette case, is that even though it's not right to want to attack Nazis, people do have a genuine dislike for those that hate others, a genuine dislike that goes to the extent that they're fine with them being hurt. So the problem is, whenever you start pretending like half the country, or at least Trump supporters, vehement Trump supporters, are all racist, that want to beat the crap out of black people in the street, MAGA country at them, well, now you've just set, like you said earlier, you've set the country up to have massive riots and all sorts of things, as well as you've set a large group, a large subset of the population up to be vulnerable to hate crimes, to having hate crimes perpetuated against them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is why identity politics is so dangerous, because whenever you think that the other side are literally Nazis, and that you have to fight them, and that their beliefs aren't worth debating, because anyone who disagrees with you is not worth debating, because their beliefs are so inherently bad that makes them bad people. We can't live together anymore. I mean, yeah, there's no common ground there at any point. And as the left keeps on destroying all that common ground that we have, it's going to get harder to keep living with each other. And if this keeps up, it won't be good for the country.
Yeah, exactly.
But with that, we're going to wrap up with that one, because I need to take a midterm. So everyone, wish me luck. Send me your prayers, because this is going to be a difficult one. But I'm John. That was Matt. You've been listening to Liberty Talks podcast. Thanks so much.
And that was it tonight. Our podcast tonight was brought to you by our music contributor, Franco Luciano. I also want to let everybody know that you can find Liberty Talks podcast now on Apple Podcast, on Google, and Spotify. Yes, we've expanded here at Liberty Talks, where you can find our podcast at most of the mainstream podcast hosts. So please check it out, spread the word, and continue listening to Liberty Talks podcast every single week.